Hello, fantastic teachers. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, and welcome to a very special session of our REINVENT session. All right, so as you can tell, this is quite different, and actually, this is also my first time doing this, recording simultaneously with the PowerPoint slides. But again, it's really nice that we try to venture and learn other things. So I'll also let you know the main reason why I've decided to do this, but one of which is to also enable more people to have access and watch the recordings, and so that we can also go back to previous or other important topics, right? Instead of just repeatedly doing them over and over again, right? So again, welcome, first and foremost. Welcome to our reinvent session. To all the first timers here, wave your hands. And to those who are tenured or seasoned ones, wave your feet. No, I'm kidding. All right, I hope that you're all feeling well. It's late in the evening right now, and the rain is pouring, well, quite hard. So I hope you're all safe and sound wherever you may be. All right. So again, welcome to our reinvent session. Just a quick history, all right? And just to introduce myself, by the way, I am trainer Margie Ann at your service. Okay, so I've started reinvent session for almost about 3 years ago. Initially, it's just for my team members, right? Because I'm also one of the Phoebe Club team captains. But I've decided, that instead of just sharing something good, if you want to bless some people, why not just make it grand? Why not share it to more people? After all, we are not hiding anything, right? And of course, rest assured that whatever you will learn from reinvent session are all aligned to the policies or SOPs of 5-1 Talk, right? So of course, everything that will be shared here are tried, tested, proven, and accurate information, and are definitely safe to do. Got it? All right. And so again, teachers, feel free, and to munch, sit down, relax, lay down wherever you may be. This is quite an informal session anyway, right? So my only request is, if you've been blessed, then please be a blessing to others as well. Okay, so teachers, again, as I've mentioned, this is quite a special session, and of course for the next ones perhaps to come, because this is actually a fundraising session as well, right? So just brief reason and backgrounder for those who are not yet aware. Teachers, as of this year or a few months ago, I hope it's changing. All right. I try to go home to be with my dad. It's quite advanced. There you go. Apparently, he was admitted to the hospital due to, we didn't know that he had a lot of sickness and organ failures, to name heart, lung, kidney failures, ARDS, and diabetes. So technically, he was, unexpectedly. I mean, no one really, gets to be prepared, right, to be hospitalized and all that. It was in a private hospital. So again, he was admitted ICU level, definitely, for about 28 days. And that being said, in the first 2 to 3 days, our account already got locked out. So, fellow teachers, what it means when your account got locked out is you will definitely still be in the hospital admitted, with all the basic support system and, the services. However, any procedures necessary and any medication that needs to be administered, that will be stopped or that won't be provided, not unless you pay or buy for it yourself. So with that being said, teachers, that means that I had to actually, find ways to come up on a daily basis, and I'm not even exaggerating, about 25 to 55,000 pesos. And that's, again, computed to how many days, right? And I'm actually an only child, and my gorgeous mom also passed away last 2020 in front of me as well during the lockdown. It was, major quarantine, right? But not because of COVID, due to cardiac arrest as well. That too had been very traumatic. So including this one, the first time for me to see my dad, after the COVID lockdown and all that, only to end up, being with him in the hospital in such condition, critical condition. So again, after their burial, if it isn't enough, 1 week right after that is you've already seen it. Our humble abode got all burnt down into pieces. We only managed to salvage our laptops and our cell phones, actually quite incompletely. Yeah, so we've just managed to move into an apartment about well, we've stayed for a couple of months, almost a couple of months at the multipurpose hall, quite overstaying there actually, because we tried to really, save up for us to be able to afford to find a place that would also allow us to still keep as well our surviving or our rescued pets. A lot of them got roasted and toasted as well due to the fire. Yeah, it was really really traumatic. Yeah, so and on top of that, just as of now, the one of the reasons, as I've mentioned earlier, one of the reasons as well why I've decided to record this is because my laptop, it's quite old. We do have a lot of backups. I actually have a separate video live reinvent session. You may look it up, and while you're there, you might want to consider subscribing here in my channel, Margie, and right, share it away if you've been blessed, and hit like, comment, subscribe. Okay, and hit on the notification bell as well. The price list as well are already included in the description box. It might get updated, of course, so just ask around, right? Depending on when you will watch that video and wherever you may be at. So again, having said that, of course, we don't have any backups, right? For at least for the computer alone. So this one, apparently, of course, it is a bit old, of course, and unfortunately, one of our amazing cats decided to try to step in it. So basically, right now, I'm trying to cross my fingers for it to still work properly. And honestly, this also caused a lot of its processor and the other drivers to be sluggish. So that's the reason why I've decided to also record this. I hope it turns out well. In that way, I will be, I will be able to save this and just have it uploaded, right? So what will happen basically to those of you who are here is to those who would want to join the reinvent session, I will be giving you an exclusive link on my YouTube channel to watch this. I will only set this one on public when you are watching it, right? But I will hide it when it's not scheduled to be aired. Why? Because again, the things that we will be discussing here and showing here are actually confidential information about our company as well. It's not confidential for us here in 51 Talk as teachers, but of course we have to protect, right, proprietary and confidential rights of 51 Talk, right? So again, teachers, we would really appreciate any form of help, prayers, donations, so you can see there our contact information, right? So thank you so much. Again, you can always pause, and play again this video. So, teachers, for today, our topic is very special and very simple. It will be all about lesson memo. Lesson memo 101. Teachers, right off the bat, I would love to encourage you all to make sure that you help yourselves as independent service providers. Make sure to bookmark your support portal and also take time to read through and browse. Don't be scared to browse around your My Page, because our My Page actually holds and contains a lot of hidden gems that are not even or might have been forgotten already, right? While when you've attended your training session. So a lot of details are there, especially for the support portal. You can find the technical support, lesson support, right? You would know more about not just lesson memo, but what to do if you want to file for leave, special plotting, how to troubleshoot things, about fees, about air class, etc., etc. Right? So teachers, again, please don't wait for something to happen before you try to learn about it. It's best to at least read through it now so that you will know, just I hope not, but in the event that you will be faced with such circumstances, then you already know what to do. Right? So again, make sure to bookmark it so that it's just a click away, just in case you need it or you need some references. Right? So teachers, here we will be talking first and foremost about punctuality. It's actually presented in three ways: before, during, and after. So teachers, punctuality before class, very simple. Make sure that you are prepared. People would oftentimes think that it's unnecessary and it's just a petty thing, but make sure, teachers, that before you come to class, at least you are not just well prepared, but it also means that you're mentally, physically, emotionally stable and prepared. So having said that, make sure that you are well rested, you've already eaten, you've reviewed at least most of the lessons, and you have your teaching aids, reward systems, and other materials needed within your reach. And that way you won't have to cram while you're ready on it, right? Make sure as well that you invest on your backups if you have some. Again, check out my video for that one, so that you won't have to worry about, just in case anything happens. Make sure as well, teachers, to enter the AC classroom at least 2 to 3 minutes ahead of time or right after your previous class. Why is it necessary, teachers? Again, for two main reasons. Number one, we all know that here in the Philippines, our internet connection is the best. You know what I mean by that, right? So another thing, teachers, is actually Philippines does not have its own server. So what does that mean? Say, for example, I used to have Sky Cable as my provider in the past in Makati. So it doesn't actually just go directly to my students. And what happens is Sky Cable would actually tap to LA, and then LA will go to Hong Kong, and then to whichever area in China my student is located at, right? So again, teachers, that's actually just one way. Now it actually works both ways, because our AC now has what we call the intelligence or artificial intelligence, making our servers connect to each other. So in the event that one server is faulty, then it will try to look for another one so that it will keep you connected, right? And again, it works both ways. So it might not be on your end, the problem, but again, it might be coming from their end, since usually our clients, as we may all know, are on their data, right? Or on Wi-Fi. But of course, we cannot call them out for that, right? So having said that, teachers, make sure again that all of your equipment are well prepared, right? And well checked. So teachers, I would also like to give you hacks and tips that we do, or best practices. So you may do it, whatever way that is convenient for you. So first, teachers, before you start your shift, at least 30 minutes before the time, please take a screenshot, 4 screenshots, okay, of the following. First would be the start button on your My Page. Don't forget to include the timestamp, the date and time of your computer, because that will make a whole lot of difference. And that start button, teachers, would appear 30 minutes before your very first class for your day. And that would also send a notification to China that, hey, this teacher is ready to work. Second of which, teachers, do not disregard the facial recognition. That's very important. As you may know, every application has a different camera orientation, right? But again, it reminds you to check on yourselves if you are already prepared, if you're dressed properly, if you are compliant with your background, right? And everything else for your lesson. Next, teachers, will be the device check. So run a device or test that is found on your AC. And lastly will be the speed test. Just go to speedtest.net and run it. Okay, all of this information must be saved in a folder or something. Why? Because teachers, again, this will definitely come in handy, especially, I hope not, in the event that you will have any technical problems in the middle of your classes. And again, here in 5-1 Talk, please be informed that the best way for you to validate and prove something is to have a backup and screenshots. So that would serve as your evidence. So teachers, as early as now, practice those fastest fingers. Anything going on, anything wrong, take a screenshot or take pictures, right? Save yourselves, back yourselves up. Got it? Okay, so that is something that you should do, or those are the things that you should do before you start your class. And of course, don't forget, teachers, to simultaneously refresh both your My Page and your AC. Again, simultaneously. And do not be complacent in the event that you have open classes. Always, always refresh and check them. Why? Because you can get booked anytime. And there's no one to blame for it, right? Why? Because number one, teachers, we chose our own schedules. So in that way, teachers, that also gives the impression to everybody that we are professional and we are disciplined and responsible enough to make sure that we are reliable and that we will be present on that given schedule. Right? Another thing, teachers, again, as I've mentioned, you can get booked anytime. And this is one of the common problems of those teachers who have low bookings, right? You rarely have bookings. And the moment that you got a booking, you were actually marked absent. Why? Because you didn't realize that you would get booked. Teachers, the logic there is you're open, right? So that means to say that you are expected to be ready to work and ready to provide your service because you chose that schedule. That means you should be ready anytime. Why did we even open that? We open that because we want to work. Why do we want to work, right? Because we want to have more bookings. Why do we want to have bookings? Because we want to have regular students. Why do we want to have regular students? Because we want to have regular and stable income, right? So teachers, again, there will be no excuse if in the event that we missed out. And of course, that is very disheartening. So make sure, okay, to be always vigilant about or on your schedule, especially those open slots. And let's see, next one is during the lesson. So teachers, during the lesson time, please be advised that on the 5th second, okay, on the 5th second, your students actually would have that sub button, meaning to say they can actually request for a substitute teacher. That's why I'm looking here at here because Captain Sydney is right beside me. So teachers, again, make sure that you are inside the classroom 2 to 3 minutes ahead of time. You can anyway just leave the camera off, right, and do other things. Be back before it turns back on. You can also leave messages like we will start on time, something like that. All right, so teachers, again, make sure that you are there inside the classroom ahead of time, giving it time to load up. And sometimes, by the way, I almost forgot to say, you would encounter something that says audio channel, right? If it's still loading or it's switching, those are for two main reasons. It's either your internet connection or computer problem, or another one is because of, again, the server. Okay, so it's trying to connect both servers together, right? So that's why teachers, even though you're already inside, but if it's still unstable, do not be surprised to find that, oh no, someone else took over your lesson. And of course, we all know that that is an automatic penalty and an automatic infraction on our attendance, right? So again, teachers, please make sure that you're already in there. And on the 31st second, take note of the time that I'm giving you all. Again, 5th second, next one is 31st second. Try to stay. If something is wrong and you need to refresh, hold it, right? Wait until the 31st second. Otherwise, AC will automatically tag you as late, leave early, regardless if you've been there waiting and entered, for 1 hour and then you've decided that you had to refresh it at this given schedule, right? So at least try to do it on the 31st second. Now, of course, every time that you try to do that, you also have to notify your students first, okay, and get their approval on it, just to be on the safe side. Another thing, teachers, is if you can actually, hold it off up until the 5th minute, right? That will be much better because actually, sometimes they would say yes, or if you just left without informing them, then they can still request for a substitute teacher because they didn't know what happened, right? They just thought that you just left or abandoned them. So it's important to notify them and get their approval just in case, so you can always, file a dispute about that with the screenshot of their approval, right? And again, on the 5th minute, that actually disables their ability to request for a sub teacher. So at least they can, still get to stay there, right? So another thing, teachers, that you need to remember, make sure, teachers, that you wait for your student up until the 15th minute before you tag them late. However, take note of this. That is provided that the student never entered the classroom during that lesson time. Again, stay up until the 15th minute and mark them absent if the student never tried to enter the room within that 15-minute duration. Now, make sure, teachers, that before you tag them as absent, make sure that before you leave the classroom, rather, that you already tag them absent. right? So tag them absent first, then you leave. However, of course, you have to do it very fast. Otherwise, you have to be very alert about this. Otherwise, you might end up still having the student inside, and you will either be forced to decline them and tell them that you've already been tagged absent, right? Or you can do a charity work and still give them a class. Well, that would still help out your customer satisfaction rate, but then again, of course, that's already considered as half pay. So it's totally up to you. Either you utilize the remaining 10 minutes or you can just give it to them as well, right? So again, teachers take note of that. However, if in the event that the student was able to enter even for a split second and then left the classroom within the time frame, right? So you'll really have to stay for the entire 25 minutes and wait for them to come back before you tag them as absent if they really never came back. This also happens, teachers, listen well, okay? This also happens in cases when there are, technical problems. First things first, teachers, you have to prove and you have to secure screenshots proving that the problem is not on your end. That's why, remember earlier, the four things, right, that I told you: facial recognition, right, the start button, the speed test, and the device test. Those are very important. You can do that again if you want to. And just make sure that you also post it on the chat box. That would also serve, documentation. Multiple documentation would never hurt. Anything that would at least give you evidence and backup, that would really be very much helpful for you. Because again, remember, we're independent service providers. They will not just take our word for it. It has to be properly documented. Got it, teachers? So again, make sure that you prove it. You take a screenshot of yourself. If the student is saying that your microphone is not working, blah, 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 take a screenshot showing that your microphone is working. Send it on the chat box and also save it on your folders, right? Just in case, so you can always, dispute or file a counter dispute about it, just in case, right? So again, teachers, if in any event that you encounter that and for some reason it impacted your lessons, right? So you have to make sure first that the problem is not coming from your end, because of course, if it is, then and if it really affected your lesson, that you weren't able to really teach a meaningful lesson, then of course you should not make a lesson memo, okay? But if it was deemed that it is really coming from the students, and then yes, you can mark them as absent, provided again that there was no meaningful lesson made. However, we will discuss more about that one later on. So let's just move forward real quick. Okay, this one, teachers, let's try to watch this. And hold on, let me just go back to it. I hope it plays. There we go. Video. Okay, so okay, all right, so teachers, again, here's the thing, okay? Make sure, teachers, that you were able to conduct at least 10 minutes of a meaningful lesson or meaningful class, regardless of whatever happened, right, during that class. At least you were able to finish 10 minutes, based on your assessment, despite of whatever hula baloos there may be. If you think that you were able to conduct at least 10 minutes, then yes, you are allowed to make a lesson memo, right? However, of course, if it's less than that, then no, you're not allowed to make a lesson memo. So the common question here is, what if the student actually entered on the 15th minute, right? So you have to options to your teachers. Okay, remember, as I've mentioned earlier, you have to do it really fast, right? So you can at least, still have your 10 minutes for yourself. Or again, teachers, you can still utilize the remaining time. However, of course, that might impact as well your next class. So you have to maximize and you have to manage your time accordingly if you really want to at least have a meaningful lesson and create a lesson memo. And you'll have to, if you'll have to mark a student absent or whatnot, please set proper expectations. Okay, so teachers, here's another best practice. Remember, I told you 4 things that you need to save before your classes. Now this is something that you need to do after each class, or at least at the end of your shift. Teachers, please check your lesson memos every after class. Okay, and you may also check your lesson fee summary for the confirmation, right? If that is something that will motivate you, you may do so just to really make sure, right, that it gets through, right? Because once it's posted there, then that means that you get paid, that means that it has been submitted successfully, right? And of course, teachers, at the end of the day or of your shift, please take a screenshot of your lesson history, including the timestamp. Why is that necessary? Take it from me, teachers. This already happened to me multiple times, so I have to learn, from it too. Now, at times, sometimes you might think that it already went through, it has been submitted, but apparently it did not, right? And the following day, you will be surprised you had an infraction and a penalty for absence or absences because of unfinished lesson memos, right? So we don't want that to happen. And again, the only way to appeal for that and to dispute for it is if you have an evidence. And what would that be? That would be a screenshot that, hey, it's all clear, right? So make sure to do that, right? Save it, have a folder. And let's see what's next. Okay, here are teachers again. Please be guided accordingly about the schedule when you need to post the lesson memos. So again, teachers for FD, actually I've been trying to also share this to everybody. It's a best practice that I've learned from Free Trial Elite. We try to post our lesson memos, including the assessment, as early as the 23rd minute. Right? If you can do that, and that will actually be fine. It's not too early, but again, it's still just on time. In that way, that would also allow you to maximize that 5-minute interval, right? I know you want to maximize those glorious minutes, right? Instead of you wasting your time, right? Oh, I'm still not yet done, and it will end up, piling up, and before you know it, you got the a deduction, or you were tagged as absent because you totally missed it. And worst case scenario is your computer or your internet shuts down, and then you lose all of those notes that you were saving, right? So I hope it doesn't happen to anyone, or it won't happen to you. But yes, if you can train yourselves to do that, so at least even before you end the class, you're free, right? Okay, so teachers, again, please be guided accordingly. Everything that I'm showing to you, as you can tell, is a screenshot or a cropped picture of our lesson portal, right? Or support portal. So please be guided accordingly. 6 to 12:25 lesson memo or time must be posted before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 12:30 to 6:25 in the evening must be posted at 8 o'clock. And then 6:30 onwards must be posted before 9 o'clock of the following day if you don't want to have any infractions. Okay, I'm really so sorry. I'm buttered with my... I hope you can see me better now. If not, my apologies. Because again, I told you my laptop is not balanced right now. Okay, so let's see. The next one is... Okay, so this will be, of course... after lesson. Okay, so again, teachers, as I've mentioned, if you can train yourselves to have your lesson memos all done and posted on the 23rd minute, then that should give you enough time to utilize and maximize those 5 minutes, and you can just enter the next classroom right away. Because again, some cases would be people being so caught up finishing their lesson memos that they'll end up being late on the next class, which is, of course, very sad. And before I forget, teachers, again, be very careful. Make sure that when you enter the classroom, you have to double check the schedule, right? Because sometimes, it happens and you thought it's the right classroom, and you think that I was so early. Why was I tag absent, blah, 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 or you still realize it just in time, but when you click on it, you were already subbed, or you were already tag late because you ended up entering the wrong classroom. So of course we don't want that. So be very, very mindful, okay? And hold on, I'm really quite bothered with this. So there you go. All right, so teachers, let's proceed now to the guidelines in writing lesson memo. This has been actually an appeal from most trainers as well because it is really quite an eyesore to see it, quite honestly, right, from our fellow teachers. Remember, teachers, why are we doing this? Right? Take note, we are already working from home. There are no extra jobs or bring take home jobs, right? So we just need to do it properly. After all, the lesson memos, teachers, are the official documentation that you did your job, that you were able to conduct a class. And again, teachers, if you posted a lesson memo, then that will equate to your lesson fee summary, right? So you always want to make sure that you will secure that one. Secure that it has been completely done and done accordingly. And make sure, teachers, that it must be kept professional. So that means to say that we're not allowed to lambast or approach them, negatively there. It should be in a positive phrasing format and personalize it, teachers. What does it mean? We should talk to them like we are just talking to the student directly, not on a third party basis. We should not write the student. Instead, student A or Coco is blah, 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 blah. You are amazing. Tony, you are great. Sam, okay. And of course, no unnecessary symbols such as flowers, right? Hearts. I know it's all cute aesthetically. However, again, these are professional documentation. I want you to imagine and regard to it as a report card, right? And it's also like a report card, so it should show the progress of the student's progress, not only for the parents, but as a basis of how effective we are as teachers. All right, so having said that, teachers, let's break them all one by one. Okay, here, pronunciation. This is the very first part, teachers. All right, so of course, most often than not, you will see here the target language or target words that they need to learn. So of course, you just click on whatever is appropriate for that particular lesson. In the event that you have add-ons, then you just type them and you manually look for the IPA, right? Oh, yes, the IPA spelling of them in Cambridge, right? And teachers, of course, sometimes it won't show, then you just have to manually look it up, right? That's simple. However, teachers, please take note that we are not allowed to put other symbols such as dashes. Instead, we are just allowed to use the same format that we can see, the slashes. No dash, no colons or quotation marks, okay? Or semicolons, nothing like that. No parentheses. Okay, so be very, very careful with that, teachers. No other words, no other symbols must be included. Right, so teachers, remember what I'm actually sharing to you is not just technical based, but it is also, of course, based on the correct format, right? Of course, it is translated in Chinese on their end, so don't worry about it. They already understood why it's like that. Right, so teachers, again, for the grammar corrections, these are the things that we have to take note of. Make sure, teachers, that we avoid writing these type of statements. Already corrected in class, nothing to correct, or NA, right? Or anything as such. Why? Because when we say already corrected in class, teachers, we have to be cautious as well for the parents or the guardians of the student. Please understand that not all of them are good in English. Another thing, not all of them have the time to review their recordings. And again, as a courtesy to the next teacher, we don't have access on the recordings, nor do we have time to read and watch what happened on your previous class or classes, right? So you have to make sure that you have everything documented accordingly. And of course, when you say nothing to correct or NA, because the student is really good, right? So teachers, that actually would fall back right onto you. Because that would mean that if you have nothing else to add or to teach that student, that means that we have to check our how competent we are, right? So again, teachers, be very, very careful with that. So instead, just in case that there was really, it was really smooth, the student is really good, that's fine, right? You should always challenge yourself to have something, right, as an expansion activity is how we call it, supplementary activities that we can add on. for them to learn. For example, you can write on the incorrect sentences, you can write here suggested sentence or sentence practice. Remember, there are sentence patterns or sample sentence, right? So you can always write those on the correct portion. Now, another trivia, teachers, please make sure that on the incorrect sentence box, everything should be written in lower cases and no symbols. Oh, but again, one teacher raised this question the last time. He said, "Oh, but I think that is a bit untruthful because we are not really teaching them about written English, and we don't have a way to say that that's really how they mean to say it." Right. So that was really a very good point. However, teachers, please know, number one, they are aware that everything on that format or on that box is a visual representation of how everything is formatted in an incorrect way. So it doesn't just focus on the sentences or phrases that they made, which may have been incorrect, but it also highlights, of course, that everything here, including the spelling, not spelling, but including the punctuation marks and the capitalization, are incorrect. In that way, it would be very clear as well when they try to read it on the correct sentence format. And don't worry, teachers, right? Knowing the Chinese culture, they won't take it negatively against you. They won't tell you that, oh, but that's not what I mean. That's not how I said it, right? That is totally understandable for them, right? They know that you are not really stressing out that they might have made an incorrect way of writing it. They know that what you're just trying to present is a clear visualization of the incorrect format and the correct one. All right. And of course, teachers, another thing, please be mindful that we are trying to teach them holistically. That's also why we have the IELTS, right? IELTS modules. Because again, teachers, please know that reading skills, oral or speaking skills, writing skills, comprehension skills, these are all different. Okay? These are all different. It doesn't mean that if the student is an adult or if the student is fluent, that they can read very well, that they're actually good in writing. So it doesn't always follow. So at times, it really helps to also remind them. Remember, or if you can actually relate, teachers, some of them would still read a contracted word like I'll as I will, right? So instead of just reading and pronouncing it correctly, because they thought, that it should always be in the formal format or formal way. And it's not wrong. However, of course, we also want to show them the other ways. All right. So again, teachers, please be very mindful of these things. And of course, for the option more or the last part here, teachers, okay, I always teach as well my trainees on how to give an effective feedback. That's on the last part of the lesson, right? So make sure that you do it on the sandwich method, wherein you need to specify three things. First, the strengths, then the areas for improvement, and then your added value or your recommendations. So teachers, make sure that when you put here the strengths of the students, you really specify, like you've learned 2 new words today, and what are those things, aside from just clicking on template. And don't forget to also state their names, again, to make it sound more personalized, okay? And always put something that would be encouraging for them. Right? Also, teachers, don't forget to specify there exactly what their areas for improvement is or what else you can suggest them to do. And if you would like to add more, right? For example, you can Google this up, teachers. It's ESL Games, right? That particular website actually works for students. That website you may even play, right? On your free time. You can just look for the appropriate topic, because there are a lot of subcategories there that would best fit for your students, especially for young learners. Or you can look up other audio conversations that you can also give as a link, as an added value, right? Like a freebie. That's like freebies for your students. And of course, let me just, tell you, teachers, that they would highly appreciate it, especially, of course, the kids, knowing that it's games, right? And for adults, they would really appreciate it because they think that you are giving them something more, right, on top of what they've paid you for. And again, teachers, please avoid putting any flowers, hearts, or anything that are so cute, because we still want to keep it professional. right? So teachers, I hope that this would somehow help you all and enlighten you in terms of having an effective lesson memo. Why are these all important? Not only will this document your classes and to guarantee that you get paid, but of course, teachers, at the end of the day, this would also be a tracker, and this would also help you a lot in gaining more favorites. And of course, when you gain more favorites, and that would also mean more regular bookings, and it would also help you, of course, whenever you open your slots, then your students will get notified and you can get bookings right away. Right? So teachers, again, if you have any questions, then you are free to type it down on the comment section. Right? And again, if you've been blessed, please, we won't play anymore. Okay. If you've been blessed, please be a blessing as well to others. Share this. And I've also provided a description in the description box. I've also provided there a link. I would really appreciate, teachers, if you will sign up there with your emails. The only token of appreciation as well that I can give back to all of you who had attended will be unlimited crisp minutes. Now, teachers, again, just to set your expectations, these are personalized links, so I really need your email addresses. And on my end, I really have to be patient because I'm not tech savvy, and it took me 5, 6, or 7 attempts, right? So now, teachers, I've had it all itemized with pictures. Make sure that you are patient and then you follow them one by one. If it doesn't work, then, uninstall and redo it again until you get, okay, those minutes correctly. Right? So teachers, again, thank you so much for your time. And I hope to see you more in our upcoming reInvent session. God bless you all.